I'm Hegan from Northern Bioenergy in Tyrone. I want to thank first of all Smarty Hub for the opportunity to give this presentation. It's not often we get asked to speak, so I appreciate that. Our company was formed in response to, I suppose, a need within the local area for a biomass supply hub to be set up. There was growing interest within the local area surrounding it. There were several open days, there were several events. We come together as a collection of farmers, I suppose, to satisfy a need that was there was to be, I suppose, a company image. The supply that individual farmers could give wouldn't really work. It wouldn't satisfy the public procurement criteria in a sensible fashion. There was also an issue with machinery purchase and capital expenditure that could be spread across several different businesses. Within that, there was different aspects, different quality traits that perhaps different people may have. So that was the vision with which Northern Bioenergy was initially formed. Now from that we have grown as a company. We've moved to doing far more than just supplying fuel. We offer a planting service whereby willow we plant willow for both public sector bodies and private sector bodies, mostly them would be landowners or farmers. We offer harvesting services. We purchase Stanton willow, so we can actually give the security whenever somebody goes to plant willow that we will take it and process it and put it to suitable end use. Within that we can give the security to again, it mostly is the public sector, that we have the crops coming. We have crops coming up in several locations. It's there. You can drive past it. You can see it in the field. It's not coming from a war-torn region that's vulnerable to security issues, whereby supplies may be cut off. As I say, we also offer processing services for individual clients. That's whereby a client has maybe their own feedstock, but they haven't the means or ability to process it into an end product. So we can take that product from the field to the fuel store, or any individual process in between. Then again, we offer wood fuel supplies in various forms of contract. So what that means is we can sell fuel by the ton. So over a weighbridge, as the weight is depending on the moisture content, we can split out that. We can also supply it in a format that's called by the kilowatt hour. Now that means it's realistically we're not selling wood chip, we're selling heat. So as a end user, you'd really be paying for the thermal input or thermal output that you actually get into your building. We've also recently moved into wastewater management. Now, the basis of that there is that willow is and I think Chris Johnson will probably touch on that later on, so I'll skate over it very briefly, but willow is very, very good as a natural biofilter. In some trials it's exceeding the results that are achieved by wastewater treatment plants in certain circumstances. It's also a lot cheaper, a lot more cost effective, and a lot more environmentally friendly. We also recently moved into a term that's called ESCO options. Now what that means is that, as David touched on earlier on, the capital costs were a great issue for them. So what we're also offering is that, obviously subject to due diligence being done on both sides, we will move into long-term contracts with the clients whereby we just sell them heat. We'll supply the boiler, we'll supply the boiler, we'll supply the fuel store, and we'll supply the means to really, I suppose, generate heat. So what we'll be looking at is a long-term a long-term fixed price contract raising on RPI, which is the Retail Price Index, over a 5, 10, 15, 20-year period. So it starts to become very, very attractive for an end user there. On the Cookstown Leisure Centre project itself, there was at that stage, we're looking back nearly 10 years. Biomass was something that was extremely new in this country. There was only a couple of trial sites, and this was probably one of the first big commercial projects that was committed to be undertaken. And I think on both sides there was a lot of soul searching had to be done before anybody went forward. But we got through all that, and to be perfectly honest, I'm glad we did, because it is it's proven to be a great success. We were in contact with the Cookstown Leisure Centre, and I suppose it's more so the council and the leisure centre at a very early stage. There was several discussions, both formally and informally, that was had with them, and that gave us the confidence to move forward. And I suppose in the fuel supply side, and it also gave them the confidence to move forward in the boiler side. As I say, we just establishing the good working relationship. It took time, but I think both sides are glad that it happened prior to the commencement of the project as opposed to post, because a lot of what maybe could have become issues were avoided with doing that. We actually had a say in the, not a say, but that would be the wrong way to describe it, but we were able to give advice to the council on the practical construction of certainly the fuel store, which for us from a delivery point of view was invaluable. It made the deliveries from day one practical for us and economical for the council. Back 10 years ago, nobody had heard of a walking floor trailer. Nobody was talking about 50, 60 cubic metres delivery, or indeed 100 cubic metres delivery. The thought process was far more related to oil, whereby you were talking about litres, not cubic metres. And we were, as I say, we were able to, I suppose, have a reasonable discussion surrounding what would be the most practical method for delivery, and that was one of the leading successes in the project. We were able to deliver 10 tonnes of wood chip in under 5 minutes. We are able to tip it into a bunker underground, which, as I say, it's there are other options. There are other options out there for delivery of wood chip, but regardless of that, any biomass, that is the most practical way of delivering it. The end result. The end result was that the boiler was operational, I believe, 6 months before processed local feedstocks come on board. So it was a very, very short time scale within that there, that the local feedstocks were on board. So the project, as far as a long-term 3, 4, 5 year lead-in time delivery was concerned, it was very well managed that way. We were given a 3-month trial period by the council. At that stage, we were a brand new company. We didn't have any existing contracts. And as I say, we were very appreciative at that time that the council had the confidence in us to do that. Without that that wouldn't have happened. If that had went out to, a standard, if that had went out to, an EU supply tender, we wouldn't even have been eligible to tender for that there because of the fact we were a brand new company. Now in a whole lot of areas that situation exists still to this day, and it's an important note for consideration. So it is. We have a continuing biannual fuel supply contract with the council that every 2 years the council puts that out to tender, and we tender for that. Now we have been successful thus far in re-tendering for that, probably due to the fact we're local to the the council. The field's there. It's, you know, there's no supply issues exist. We can respond in a very short time frame. That's, you know, I'm perfectly happy to stand here and say that, you know, that we make all them remarks in our tenders, and that we're lucky that the council maybe takes them on board when they're awarding them. As I say, goodwill from both sides made the project a success. Without that, the project had serious potential for failure. It was at that stage. It was I wouldn't say high risk, but it was a medium risk project as opposed to putting in an oil boiler where there was, say, perhaps 10 local suppliers of oil and maybe another 10 regional suppliers. So, you know, it's good faith paid off, and as you seen in David's presentation, it's saving them a lot of money. That's a very important point. The contract for our business acted as a first step. It had the springboard effect. It let our business grow. It provided the baseload income for our business to expand. Now we have expanded, I would say, probably fivefold from the initial Cookstown contract, but without it, we wouldn't have the opportunity to move at all. If we had have been in a separate situation whereby we were simply growing fuel with no potential end supply market, and we're relying on a third-party contractor to come in out of contract and perhaps take that fuel, the opportunities for expansion just wouldn't have existed, and probably wouldn't have been driven in the same way to go and lobby other local authorities and sort of achieve the growth that we have achieved. Willow itself, which we'll go over very quickly, it's a crop that perhaps it's becoming very highly established in Ireland over other European countries. Now, one of the main advantages in Ireland is it's a very, very quick turnaround. You know, from planting to a saleable field, you're talking sub 5 years. So you haven't the initial lead-in time. Certainly for new projects where there's no local fuel supply available that you would have with traditional forestry. It's a very versatile crop in that it's very low maintenance once it's established, and it's for Irish climatic conditions. It's very, very suitable. So it is. We think that it's personally it's a great crop. It's, you know, it has the ability to offset, as David said, 900,000 litres of fuel on a local basis, and that can be replicated town after town after town after town throughout Ireland. So it's a replicatable system. So, and that, I suppose, how does the local supply side at Cookstown work? Well, initially, as I say, we would have had to plant the willow. Now, what that involved was us, I suppose, making a commitment to that and making an application for grant funding under the relevant schemes that were out there. And we were very fortunate at that stage that we received 100% grant funding. Now that made the decision to invest in growing biomass a lot easier for ourselves. Certainly at even the levels of funding that's currently available, circa about 40%. It's a tough call for growers to actually make that commitment, because they still have to, you know, it's a heavy investment for them, so it is, and it's you know, it's a minimum of 5 years before that return's realised at all. But as I say, in our opportunity, it was a no-brainer for ourselves. We had the potential for supply contracts there as well, so that definitely helped. Now, then, as I say, it was just a waiting game to let the willow grow in the fields, which it did and grew very well. We have a heavy clay loam soil type which the willow thrived in, and the yields that we achieved actually, you know, exceeded the predictions that we were given, so we were very happy with it. Now, after that, we harvest the willow with a method that's called the full stem system. as opposed to chip and dry. We harvest it in full rods and actually stack it up either on an area outside site or within shades for drying. Now there's an additional lead time of 6 to 12 months to do that, but we have the added benefit that we don't immediately have to remove the crop from site, and we don't have to put it onto a drying floor. Now, what we have actually, initially whenever we started, we realised that, well, it's a new crop to us, so it was a very, very steep learning curve. Now we realised that to have a guaranteed supply into particularly the leisure centre, it was necessary to stack the willow actually indoors in what we would describe as a Dutch barn, which was an airy shed with the roof on it. Now that worked very well for us, but the technology, I suppose, has moved on a little bit, and we're now nearly, we're now standing here nearly 10 years later. We're looking for a more viable option for drying, certainly in Irish climatic conditions, and we actually sourced a product from Sweden that's used for drying brash, and that's a product that's called walkie biomass paper. And we knew that it had been trialled in Ireland before, but it had never been trialled in willow. Now we brought a roll of it in, and we started trialling it in willow that is stacked outside, and the results that we were achieving were very, very good. In fact, we're actually at this moment in time preparing a trial site at Bealoch Gall to verify the results that we're getting, but we're getting very consistent results throughout the year. Willow has a small branch diameter, which means that it dries a lot quicker than forestry timber, but it'll also take up moisture a lot quicker again. So the moisture content in it is far more mobile. So the key to success that we find is to get the water out and to keep it out. And after that, we don't have an issue. After that, we chip it, so we do, and take it to sheds to store. And following that, we deliver it to the local contracts that we have. As I say, moving on from Cookstown Council, which acted as the springboard, I suppose, for our business. We've been able to deal with a lot of our public sector and private sector companies. That would never have been possible without the faith that was given to us by the council. I suppose what this slide sums up is, if there's anybody sitting here today that's considering a biomass project, certainly from the public sector, and you have local suppliers that are interested, but at the minute don't have the company representation or don't have the means, I would engage with them people, and I would attempt to do what you could for them. It has several benefits. It's never mind giving yourselves local security supply. You can drive past the field and see it physically with your own eyes, and it benefits the local economy. It reinvests the money there, so it does. So that's the end of my presentation. Thanks for listening.